weeks before the inauguration, and President-elect Donald Trump decided to nix a $250 million luxury tower in the country of Georgia. That's what they proposed it to look like. This week, a new McClatchy investigation found that the deal was with a company with shady connections, government contracts, and illegal ties in numerous former Soviet-era countries. This and other international deals were not mentioned in the president's latest financial disclosure. Other deals include what McClatchy found: 565 companies mentioned in the president's latest financial disclosure. 159 of those were tied to businesses abroad, or about 3 out of 10, adding to the questions now of conflict of interest in the White House. The 3 out of 10 is consistent with the pattern McClatchy found. That from 2005 to 2015, Trump increased efforts to diversify his business empire into former Soviet-era countries. One example, in 2012, Donald Trump began to trademark his name for real estate in 9 countries, including Armenia, Belarus, Iran, Kyrgyzstan, Moldova, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Ukraine, and Uzbekistan. And except for Iran, all are expected to be approved. Now, all of this could be in Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation, and why Trump tax returns will be mined by Mueller as he specifically investigates the president, and potentially what the president claims he has not done but actually did do. Joining us now, Bill Galvin, former FBI Assistant Director for New York, and Michael Allen, Managing Director of Beacon Global Strategies. He's also a former aide to President George W. Bush. Bill, what do you make of this McClatchy investigation and the findings that they were looking at, and the ties to foreign businesses, 156 at least, of the companies that he had on his latest financial disclosure?
Richard, I really believe that those are things that are going to be fleshed out as time goes on. To make some sort of a comment as to the veracity of all these findings is probably not my purview right now. I think that is best looked at by the special counsel. With that said, I think we have to look at what the relationship is with the special counsel and the qualities that Bob Mueller has, the integrity, the ethical performance, and the character, I think, unquestionable. And I think Bob, no doubt, will arrive at a conclusion that is honest, has integrity, and will give the right answers. There will be no holding back on his findings.
Michael, as Bill was alluding to the special counsel and what he might be doing, how much of an impact do you think information like this, and of course this is just one report on this one investigation looking into business dealings?
I think it's significant because, look, I think Bob Mueller at the end of the day is going to need to have said, I have a complete investigation. He doesn't necessarily have to go through every deal that the Trump organization has engaged with abroad in recent years, but he certainly needs to do some due diligence, some look into this, because that might supply some motivation or explain some of the relationships that the Trump campaign may or may not have. And that might be the basis for collusion, which is, after all, the main thrust of the investigation as far as we know for now. So I think it's significant. I don't know that he wants to go down this rat hole for years, but I think he's at least got to take a pretty serious look at it so he can say at the end of the day, listen, I did a complete job and this matter is closed or moving forward with charges or whatever.
Bill, one of the notes being made in the report is that these business dealings were not in the financial disclosure from June from President Trump. As they investigate this, if they were to find, yes, these business dealings are real, and no, they were not on the financial disclosure, what might that mean legally, Bill?
I think that probably the lawyers are going to have to look at that, Richard, but the bottom line is that if they have with intention, been intentionally left out of his disclosure, then I think that creates a problem. Well, this is just another piece of the puzzle that Bob Mueller has to consider. It's not an easy job that Bob has, or a task that's easy for him in the future.
I want to move on to another report that you're very aware of, and that's Michael Flynn, Peter Smith. Peter Smith, who was claiming in his interview with the Wall Street Journal that he was looking for hackers that had access or were able to find the Clinton emails, and that he had a close relationship relationship, at least from his testimony, his interview with the Wall Street Journal, with Michael Flynn. At that point, Michael Flynn was senior advisor. Michael, this is the first specific piece of evidence that is being reported on, allegedly, that links, again, Michael Flynn to this activity set that might lead to collusion.
Yeah, this is a fragment. I think it's important. It's an important fragment. It begins to sort of elucidate a question many of us have had, which is what might collusion have looked like had it occurred. This article in the Wall Street Journal begins to lay some of that out. But listen, we've got a long way to go to try and figure out whether this was truthful or just a consultant operating in and of itself on his own accord and dropping names. To me, what this really begs the question of is Michael Flynn cooperating with the FBI? He is probably the Rosetta Stone to be able to say, hey, listen, here's who I was talking to, here's who others might have been talking to. And so I don't know that we know that definitively. It's a big guessing game here in Washington. If I were the FBI, I would certainly be looking for someone like this. But he's the one that's going to be able to translate what kind of conversations went on and whether something like this is truly valid or just sort of a tertiary matter.
Shane Harris, the reporter on this, the Wall Street Journal, as you know, at the moment, Bill, that is a respected publication. When you look at that report, what concerns you, or what do you look at from the details that were itemized in it?
Richard, based on where it's coming from, the Wall Street Journal, you said it's a very wonderful paper. What I want to say is that you really have to look at this as a piece of the puzzle, as Michael says. You really have to take it into consideration. Where does it fit? How did Flynn become involved? Who was he involved with? And there is no doubt in my mind that Bob Mueller will, at one point or another, have a long conversation with Michael Flynn. And you have to remember, too, that if, in fact, these people are put before a grand jury, there's going to be some absolute truth that has to be told, or else somebody's going to go to jail, and I think that's the best way to approach this whole thing.
And there will be no congressional open testimony with Peter Smith because, as you both know, he died 10 days after that interview with the Wall Street Journal, but that would have been certainly a process that the four investigations on the Hill would have looked into, no doubt. Bill, Michael, thank you both so much.